Hi everyone,
Hello,
welcome back to Summit Farm.
In Summit Farm.
We're going to be doing an early August garden tour. Today is August 5th of 2023.
Yeah, we thought we'd give a brief tour of mostly the vegetable garden because we're starting to have some good harvests and we just want to show how that's going. And really, this is the time of year when the garden is at its greenest and fullest. So we want to show that off too as we walk through.
And just as a reminder, we are in Massachusetts Zone 6A, so just for reference.
So let's get started. So I think in previous videos we just showed individual garden beds and not really the fullness of the garden itself. So I'm just going to pan a little bit and show you guys all of the beds at once here and how it looks from the driveway. It's really looking gorgeous around this time of year. So here's all four, is it 4 or 5 beds? I guess 4.1 beds over there. Here's how it looks, and then up there on the hill is the hugelkultur bed, which I'm sure we'll get to. And then up those stairs, if you go further, there's more flowers and herbs that we've seen before. But I just want to also briefly walk over here. The fullness at this time of year, I just love this trellis structure that we built using cattle panels that we got from Tractor Supply a few years ago. This was an idea we got from Roots and Refuge. Is that right? Mm-hmm. I think these have worked out so well. Quick update on the peppers.
So this is our pepper plus a few miscellaneous things bed. We've got a few onions that are bulbing up nicely. Most of them are small. Not a good onion year. We'll have to do something different next time.
A bunch of basil, which we've cut back a bunch of times already and made basil tea and other things.
Yeah,
yeah.
We have quite a bit of it, but look at...
Yeah, these are my ghost peppers, and we see a lot of them starting to form up. That's going to be super hot sauce. Excited.
And then behind that, actually, we harvested a couple of eggplants earlier today. This variety here is called Rosa Bianca, and I do think there's a couple of smaller ones. Can you see that down there, how pretty it is?
Yep, there's one.
And there's plenty more that are setting fruit. And then these are the less hot peppers. So we have habanero, which are loaded. Look at that.
Yep.
Super exciting. We had a cool down last week. The temperatures were only in the 70s, so not a lot of peppers ripened in the last week, but they should start turning pretty soon now that it's in the 80s again. We do have the Buena Mulata, which is, it started out like a really small plant, but now that the weather's warmed up, they shot up, and you can see they have these gorgeous purple peppers and an aphid, killed the aphid. And these actually turn red eventually, but they actually, as they turn, I wish we had an example, they are a beautiful ombre of orange to dark red to purple.
Did you pick all the ones from the bottom?
I picked all the ripe ones,
okay.
Yeah, to dry. Then we have the Puma pepper, which again, this is similar to habanero, a beautiful flavor, and they're very, very pretty peppers, and they actually ripen to orange as well, but they have this purple anthocyanin on the outside. Great flavor. The plants are very healthy. We really love this pepper, so we planted a lot of them this year. Behind that, we have, I believe these are Anaheims, or are these all, nope, no, these are jalapeno. There's Anaheim. So we have both here. That's so there's some Anaheims, and we have a jalapeno plant back here, which is completely loaded. And we have to decide what we're going to do with that. Look at those. Can you see how many there are?
That's a lot.
Nice and big, which is exciting. Had an issue recently with some kind of bacterial wilt. A bunch of plants started to droop and smelled terrible. I pulled them out, and I don't know if that will transfer to these other plants that are left. That lacinato kale was laying over, and I propped it upright, so it's a little bit shocked. And then we still have a couple of plants of red Russian kale, but we had 2 or 3 more that I had to pull out. Never had that happen before, but we have grown brassicas in this bed 3 years in a row. So there is maybe something to be said for crop rotation. We'll see. So over here, I wanted to point out something exciting. We planted poblanos, and I think there's a mutant strain of the poblano because this plant, which is huge, is putting off all of these purple peppers.
Yeah, we can see a regular poblano here.
Yeah.
It should be just a plain green color.
And
but
then
for
these
some
are
reason,
almost black. And it's a huge, robust plant. You can see all the way over there are some more. So what I've done is I put, sorry.
Yeah.
Can you get that in focus? It's so pretty. And it's really a dark purple, almost black. And I don't know if the seeds were mixed up with another variety or if this is a mutant strain, but I feel like this is really cool.
Oh.
I wanted to point out these peppers so you can see how pretty they are as they turn. But because we think this is a mutant strain of the poblano, I've actually tried to isolate some of the blossoms. So I have a little jewelry bag and I put it around some of the leaves before the blossoms even opened, and I'm hoping they'll fertilize themselves without any cross-pollination from any of these other varieties, and we'll be able to save the seed from that. I don't know if it will be true to the parent, but we'll have to grow it next year and see. And then, yeah, a lot of beautiful pumas.
Look at all these.
Some more Anaheims here.
I think we can see some of the ombre effect of the Buena Mulata down here.
Oh, yeah.
There are some
Purple
turning
changing.
red.
Oh, so pretty.
Yeah, look at that.
Now we're looking at the basil bed, basil eggplants and flowers.
This is all basil.
We really like basil tea. That's pretty much the main reason we grew so much basil. It's a delicious, refreshing drink in the summertime. And it's nice to have a bunch of varieties. I think it makes the color of the beverage change and also the flavor. So this is Thai basil, and then a purple basil next to that. This is regular Genovese back here. And this is cardinal basil, which I think has a very big bloom stalk, so I'm waiting to see how that looks. And then behind that, we have the Ping Tung eggplant, which actually produces...
There's a small one here.
Oh, good. And I think I saw a decent sized one in here.
Yeah, there's a small one starting there. Oh, yeah.
So we harvested one earlier today, but we haven't tried them yet.
And on to the tomatoes. The tomatoes are looking very good. We've already started harvesting some of them. These are my Tomito tomatoes, which I'm actually loving the size of these. These are perfect for my marinating recipe, which I'll need to make a separate video about. But yeah, see how they're slightly bigger than a cherry tomato, but not too big. It's perfect for one bite. And you can harvest tomatoes when they're just starting to blush, like this, and they'll finish ripening on your counter. And by the way, now's the time of year for a guest who likes to come to the tomato plants to eat them, namely the hornworm. And the way we just spotted a hornworm is you start looking at the plant and you start seeing these black spots, which are the poops of the hornworm caterpillar. So when you see poops, you start looking upward of where they might be falling from. And oh look, there's more poops here, and more poops here, so where could he be? Nope, there he is. That's the hornworm. So I'm just gonna pick him off, and well, we'll give him to the chickens.
So the next tomato is the Bread and Salt. This is our first year growing it, and it's an oxheart shaped tomato. It's been the largest actually that we've gotten so far. 1 pound 6 ounces was our first tomato from the plant over there. Flavor is pretty good. It's a little bit mealy, but that can also be weather or other circumstances that cause that, so we'll keep tasting throughout the season. But it does have low seed and a lot of meat inside, so good for processing or making sauce. This is one of our favorites, Black Krim. We have quite a few of these. I think this is Black Krim. I thought we checked that.
Yeah,
right?
It looks like it. And we harvest these just as soon as they start blushing and let them finish on the counter and then eat them all manner of ways. They're so delicious.
So that's Black Krim. This is Black Beauty. We haven't harvested any from this yet, but look how beautiful that is.
These are
This is like
black.
Completely black. Is the bottom?
I guess the bottom's a little green.
And that's how you can tell when it starts to ripen. So that will turn, the bottom will turn red. But that's got a very high concentration of anthocyanin, which is supposed to be healthy, but also really beautiful. And you can actually see the stem of the plant is very purple as well. Aunt Ruby is a great tasting tomato. We really enjoy it. It makes a green tomato. And for that one, you want to just look for when the tomato starts to change color. I actually don't think any of these are ready yet, but every now and then you should give them a squeeze. This is softening, and it's a little bit yellower than this as an example, but we can leave that a day or two more. Nobody's gonna eat that. The next one is Thorburns Terracotta. We also really like that one. That turns a beautiful orange color, and I don't think we've gotten any yet this year. So that's exciting to see that they're starting to blush. Okay, and then I think these plants deserve a special mention. This is the Amish paste. This is probably our 3rd year growing them.
Yeah, these are really the workhorses for our tomatoes.
Yeah, the flavor is pretty good, but they're very meaty. They're extremely prolific, as you can see. They grow big fruit, they grow a lot of fruit, and they're very healthy. So even if you look at the Thorburn next door, for example, compared to how huge this Amish paste tomato is, I mean, it's completely topping all the way up above our trellis system.
And you are correct that I should be pinching off suckers, which I think I missed one right here. That's a big one.
So go ahead, that's fine.
You do want to pinch these off whenever possible, just to maximize the energy that the plant puts into these fruits.
But you can tell Dimitri does that only sometimes. And even though we work on this garden together, I would say the tomato trellising is kind of your area.
Yes, I built these trellises, and I take care of these strings, you know, these strings that go all the way up. I check these every few days, and I wind these plants over the strings, just, you know, once it gets a little too big, you give it a little half winding around the string.
And I would say we found this method much more successful than putting a stake in the ground or a tomato cage. This is just much better, and the plants can sway with the wind if there's a storm or something like that. So that's been really good for us.
Yeah, these have been through pretty strong storms.
So I want to also point out the Amish paste. It's so prolific. I mean, look at this cluster of giant tomatoes. They're huge. I don't even know what's going on here. This is massive.
These are really enormous.
And then this cluster is like 12 tomatoes.
Yeah, I'm having to hold it up using another string separately.
Yeah, I mean, probably some of these are aborted, I can't tell, but a lot of them have set.
It's a bit of a shame that the dill has pretty much come and gone already. It'll be a little bit trickier for marinating things, but still some left.
I did freeze some dill. I don't know how well that will go in a marinade, but I figured we could do that. And also, we could take the seed heads and throw them down and see if we can get another round going. So we'll try that.
Yeah.
This is another bread and salt tomato. So another ox heart shape for canning or preserving. This one did get some frost damage, so it's quite a bit behind, but this is the one that gave us the huge fruit, which I think we have a picture.
Yeah.
But we took it off the bottom so that this plant could finally start growing and producing some other things. It was working very hard on that. And then we have another Black Beauty, which is looking unbelievable. Look at how big that one is. Although I don't know if somebody's been chewing on it or exactly what's wrong with it.
I don't know.
I don't either. But I don't care. But I'm excited to try it.
Nasturtium just going everywhere.
I'm gonna say maybe another Black Creme. It's a really delicious, almost smoky flavored tomato. It's probably one of our favorites for fresh eating.
These are another Tommy-Toe tomatoes. And I'm planning on collecting a whole bunch of these and making huge cans of marinated tomatoes to enjoy. And by the way, I wonder if Tommy-Toe, is that a play on words on tomato, Tommy-Toe? Is that something?
No idea.
Okay.
And then this is our Sun Gold cherry tomato. Very delicious, pretty prolific, although this plant is not so impressive.
No.
I wonder, I can't remember if this one got frost damage or not. But we should probably let some of the suckers actually grow because it's not very robust. So in this bed, we just added some Chinese water spinach, which we actually have been growing inside since January. And it turns out it's a great cut and come again green, but they were outgrowing their containers. We just transplanted this outside last week, and it's put on a lot of growth already. And this is a very delicious green for stir fry. And I found that you can cut it and it will grow back again. I think I've harvested 2 or 3 times, probably 3 or 4 times when these were inside. I just did like a dense seeding in some containers, like nursery containers that I had left over. And then I just transplanted them out after I harvested them, and they're going again. So I'm super happy with that, and they're delicious.
More basil.
Yeah, and I was a little worried we weren't going to have enough because all the plants were dying because of... We've got leeks.
Leeks.
These are looking decent. They're kind of getting some rot on the bottom, probably because it was so wet for a while, but they're big enough probably to harvest at this point. I think a lot of people will hill up their leeks to get a nice white stalk. I don't do that. But you can see, I mean, this is not a bad size. This is the King Sieg variety of leek. But they will keep going until the fall, and they can handle very, very cold temperatures, even make it through the whole winter sometimes. So I'll just leave them in the ground until we need them.
And at last, starting to get some cucumbers.
Yeah, I think we should eat that one. Look at the size. Or we could make the tiniest jar of pickles.
Yeah, the cucumbers had a bad start. We had to replant them. Twice, and they're finally starting to come in.
Do you think we can make pickles out of these 3 small ones? Or like take that one and then there's 2. We could have 3 pickles.
Sure, let's do that.
Okay.
And this way, over here, once again, we have our overflow tomatoes. And in the overflow area, we're growing currant tomatoes. And look how fun these are. Look at how long this is. It's filled with tiny little tomatoes, literally the size of a currant. These are ready to harvest. The flavor of these, the taste is not particularly special, but it's just a fun little thing to maybe throw on a salad for garnish. I'm not sure we'll grow these again next year, but it's just fun to see how they turn out.
So now we are looking at our trellising system, and we're really excited. We have some tromboncino squash, which are going crazy. We've already harvested 3 large tromboncini, and there are fruits all over the place.
Yeah, 76 trombones, is that right?
Yeah. And then here's one very cool shape. And here's one. And then here's one. And this plant went all the way over and now is invading this side, where we already had another one coming up this way. And then we have buttercup squash. This is a favorite of the squash vine borer, so we really can't get very much from it, sadly, but we have one, very exciting, and we're starting to get some powdery mildew on it as well.
But these are our favorite squash. They're so delicious.
Yeah, they're very reliable, they store well, they taste excellent, but we've just had a lot of trouble with squash. And then we have another little guy here. And then I saw here's one. I don't know if that was fertilized. I think that one was because it's already bigger. So sometimes you'll notice if your squash is fertilized, it starts to grow very quickly, like starting this size, and then it goes much bigger. This one has stayed pretty small for a few days, so I don't think that one got fertilized, unfortunately. These are our Good Mother Stallard beans, drying bean, which is a little bit ridiculous to try to grow in a home garden. You don't get very much, but they're so fun, and I don't know why. I love growing beans.
And these beans, this is what has completely taken over the trellis.
Yes.
This is completely filled with bean leaves. Yeah, in here, it's totally dark.
Yeah.
And they go all the way up, and they've twisted and turned all across each other. Look at these twists.
And look at the baby beans, they're so
Yep,
cute.
baby beans are starting.
So last year, I have mentioned before, we had an issue with spider mites and we lost pretty much all of the beans. So I'm really hoping that that does not happen this year. I'm keeping a close eye out for them, but it's been much less dry this year. So hopefully we're doing okay. So raspberries.
Yep, the bees are really enjoying them.
Yeah.
And they're really starting to fill out. We're gonna have an avalanche of raspberries when these are ready.
Hopefully. These are heritage raspberries in the first row, and the second row is a light pink berry that I can never remember the name. So these raspberries, most of the ones that you're seeing now, these canes grew this year. We actually cut them all the way down to the ground in the spring, and most of these are new shoots.
That's right, all of this growth
And look
literally
how tall it
happened
is.
over the spring.
It's
Yep, these were
insane.
cut all the way down, and these shot up, and now we've got all this.
Yeah, this is what, 10 feet? No, 8 feet tall?
That's at least 8 feet.
Yeah, they're crazy. Crazy, crazy. So I don't know why they sell raspberry plants for like $25. It's invasive. It clearly grows everywhere.
Yeah, they're popping out everywhere. You can take any kind of cutting and plant it yourself.
We cannot walk through here.
Here's something fun. This is cucamelon that self-seeded from last year. Is that right?
Yep, there's multiple plants. There's another one down over there.
Yeah.
And we didn't plant them this year, but they're so cute.
Yeah.
Happy to have them.
They're starting to produce tiny fruits. They're kind of pleasant tasting. I like the taste.
They're like a novelty. You can make an adorable, tiny, quick pickle. Look at that thing. They look like tiny watermelons when they're fully ripe.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, onward to the hugelkultur bed. And here we have a lot of squash and some more beans and potato plants.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different varieties of squash in this bed, and they grow so crazy I can't tell which vine is which anymore. In the front of the bed here, I planted 2 varieties that are susceptible or more susceptible to the squash vine borer. And you can see how the leaves are yellow and there's a lot of shriveling and dying, and we've cut out probably 30 borers from these plants.
That's right. We've dug out at least 30 borer larvae, but we also, tried our best to get rid of the borer eggs before they hatched, but still to no effect. We don't really know how to handle them going forward.
I don't know if you can handle them. So oftentimes what you'll see with the borer damage is the leaves might start to yellow. You might notice that the stem is yellow. So you can see this stem, kind of normal green, getting lighter, lighter, lighter. And I actually found a borer here this morning right there.
Yeah.
And then it's green again. But look at this. Even though we have borers everywhere, we have a winter luxury pumpkin. Absolutely delicious. We grew it last year, and I accidentally didn't realize that it doesn't store well. So we ate a few, and then I tried storing them, and the ones we had a few months later were disgusting.
Yeah.
So this year we will just eat them right away.
Now what's this one over here?
That is an unknown squash, because I saved a seed from a hybrid squash I grew 2 years ago, and that's not it, but it looks very cool.
Potatoes?
Yeah, so these are russet potatoes, which we planted because we had a sprouting potato inside the house, or a few, so they're kind of scattered around here. They're probably going to be harvestable, I'm guessing, in 2 to 3 weeks. They already flowered, and now the plants are starting to die back, and that's usually a sign that it's almost time to take them. And then we have the purple hull pink eye pea going up the trellises. Some of the plants are a lot healthier than others, not really sure what the reason is. This is just like a black-eyed pea, but I'm partial to things that are special in color.
Which one is this?
Don't know. That's either Muscata Maroc or Long Island cheese.
All right.
But these are squash that are in the family Moschata, and they are less susceptible to the squash vine borer because they have a denser stem. I have noticed on a bunch of them that some of the leaves are infested with the borer, but actually they're not in the main stems. So you can see these plants back here are much healthier than the ones in the front. Except this yellow one, I'm not sure what's wrong with that.
That's noticeable. By the way, here I have some very sad sunflower plants, which I had to replant because the originals were bitten off by rabbits, as everything was.
So that could be black futsu, I think, but they're really small compared to what I expected. There's another one on the other side, and they're only like this big. And then I've noticed, I think this is Muscata Maroc, and it has, I think there's a very large variation in shapes and sizes of those generally, but these will get very warty and supposedly have a great flavor. And that plant has put off a lot of babies, or there's another big one. This makes me so excited.
Oh boy.
I don't even know what it is.
And way over here is one more cannabis plant hiding in there. I think we need to transplant that because it's being completely overshadowed by these huge leaves.
Yep.
But it needs a lot more sun.
Yep. And then, okay, here's another. You see the, I think that's a black futsu. That one's been on.
Where?
Back there.
Oh, there.
That one's set a long time ago, but it hasn't gotten any bigger, so that might be about how big it gets. But then I noticed here, look at this one.
Whoa, whoa.
Yeah. So that I think is Muscata Maroc also. And then I had seen maybe, oh yeah, Is that a winter luxury? Let's hope. Please be a winter luxury.
My berry bush is almost ready to start going dormant, but I just wanted to do one more full pan of the garden as it looks from here. And just look at that trellis. Isn't that beautiful? This is the perfect time of year to see it. All right, guys. Yeah, we're recording. All right, guys, that's our update for now. We'll check back later.
Thanks for checking in.
Yep, thanks. And we'll check back in later with more harvests and more updates.
Bye.
Bye.